we completed the study of the first Anuvaka of the Rudradhyaya, and also we continued with the traditionally chanted mantra Namaste Astu Bhagavan Vishveshwaraya. So we'll enter into the second Anuvaka, second paragraph. We see that from Anuvaka number 2, starting from Namo Hiranyabahave up to the Anuvaka number 9. So in all there are 11 paragraphs or 11 Anuvakas. Out of 11 Anuvakas, 2 to 9, what is the subject matter? The subject matter is that Bhagavan Shankara has got 3 characteristics. One is he is Sarveshwaratvam. Sarveshwaratvam means overlordship on everything in the creation. 2. Sarvantaryamitvam, that means the indweller of every single entity in the creation. And number 3, Sarvatmakatvam, it is the essential self of everything. So these 3 are not synonymous. If you see, one is lordship. So there can be lordship, but the lordship need not be an indweller. Like the boss of a group, he has got lordship over his subordinates, but he is not the indweller of each one of them, nor he is the very self of each one of them. The relationship is only as long as the boss-employee relationship is there. But Ishvara's relationship with the universe is not like that. And these are, all the 3 are not mutually exclusive, but all the 3 concurrently happens. He is concurrently Sarveshwaratvam, Sarvantaryamitvam and Sarvatmakatvam. In short, the essence of all the objects is none other than Shiva, the concept of Shiva, which is auspiciousness. So one of the important things to note is, from the mantra Hiranyabahave Senanye Dishancha, that is Namo Hiranyabahave Senanye Dishancha Pataye Namaha, from then to the end, which is Namashvabhyashvapatibhyascha O Namaha. We will see, we have to select the group of phrases which begin with the Namaha salutations and ends with Namaha the salutations. So the methodology of study is, from second Anuvaka onwards, you have to take the group of the words which are embedded in between 2 Namaha. So why did they do that? What was the purpose? The purpose is Adi Anta Shivaha Eva. In a group of related entities, the beginning is Shiva, then the entities manifest themselves, and the end also becomes Shiva. And this is very important because nothing can even manifest itself without Shiva. Therefore, the energy which enables manifestation, we offer a salutation, and nothing that is manifested can continue to exist. It has got to go out of manifestation at some point of time. And therefore, in the end also, at the right time only, everybody will die. One of the most important things we have to understand is, there is no untimely death. In cosmos, all deaths are timely only, because we have seen in the doctrine of karma that as soon as the prarabdha karma of a given life is over, that life has to come to an end. The body should perish. So look at the beauty of this. We have to offer namaskara to Mahadeva because the prarabdha karma has ended. Is that not a good news? And therefore we offer namaskara. See, that's why the whole perspective of looking at birth and death changes. Just by understanding how on both the sides namaskara is there. I salute to Shiva because he gave me birth, a phenomenal birth in a human body. because human body is the only way in which we can attain knowledge. And once the knowledge is attained, and my work, the very purpose of my taking birth is so that I get the self-knowledge. As soon as self-knowledge is there, there is no reason why I should be alive. And therefore again thank the Lord, Yushmat Sangha Vashopachata Sukritas Paraspuran Nirmala Jnanapatta Samasta Mahimaliye Parabrahmani. This is from Bhartrihari's Vairagya Shataka. So that is the significance of these two namaskaras. So, if Shiva, as we saw in the first Anuvaka and elsewhere also, who is infinite, all-pervading and omniscient, because we said Sarveshwaratvam, Sarvantaryamitvam and Sarvatmakatvam, how can we say that Shiva is the individual sentient things also? Look at the question here. There is the individual sentient beings. As soon as we say individual sentient beings, means they are finite. How does finitude come? Finitude comes in space, time and causality. Desha, Kala, Karana. Isn't it? So if Shiva is infinite, how can we say he is the all in something that is finite? So that we have got to be resolved. The resolution is the infinite Swamayaya. By its own Maya, it will actually appear as limited and finite. This is a very profound observation of the sages, because all phenomenal existence is only an appearance of the infinite. So this is also a matter of great encouragement for us, because we are, as long as we are attached to the body-mind complex, we experience finitude. When we see the infinite which is inhabiting the body-mind finitude, and you associate your identity with the infinite, first thing that goes is fear. When fear goes, there will be no sorrow. So only two major human problems is fear and sorrow, bhaya and shoka. So therefore Shiva is the one who actually liberates us from the jivatva bhava. That means the concept that I am a limited mortal being. So to remove the limited mortal being, we embed all epithets between Namaha and Namaha. Then you may ask me the question, then why should we have this universe? Why should we have this world? It is because the world is a field where one who has misunderstood his limited nature gets a field, gets an area, gets a laboratory where he can overcome his finitude. And therefore, even the world, the Jagat, is also a manifestation of Shiva only. So much internal concepts are embedded in these two namaskaras. You will see that in the entire text, right up to Namashvabhya Shvapatibhyascha, you will see these two things embedded. Then, the combination of the infinite Shiva with the finite universe at macrocosmic level, and with the finite me, the individual, at microcosmic level, becomes a role model. How does he become a role model? How can we use him as a role model? What has Shiva done? He, as the infinite, as the indweller, he has limited himself. He has given up his infiniteness, infinite ownership, omniscience, omnipresence, and has limited himself. The difference between our limitation And Ishvara's limitation is Ishvara has voluntarily done that. And this has been immortalized by Kalidasa in his Nandi Shloka of Madhavika Agnimitra by saying, Ekaishvarye sthitopi pranata bahupale yes swayam krityavasaha. Even though he is the owner of all the wealth that is there in the creation, Swayam himself, Krityavasaha, he is very simply clad with just the skin of an animal. And then, what about his attachment to his spouse? He has given half of his body to her. The concept of Ardhanarishvara. Kanta sammishra dehopi avishaya manasam yak parastad yatinam. Even though he is so intimately attached to his wife, in the spirit of renunciation, he is beyond all the sages put together. Yak parastad yatinam. There are many lessons to draw from this. We have to be in the world. We have to enjoy all the pleasures of life, but at the same time must also be equally detached. Parastadyatinam ashtabhir yasya kritsnam jagadapi bibrato nabhimanaha. Even though Ashtaishwarya, all the 8 kinds of wealth is his, all the 8 directions are his, na abhimana. He has absolutely no ego whatsoever. Satya Shiva Sanmargalokanaya, for so that we can actually see what is the right way, right path that we should take. Vyapanayatu vaha tamasim vrittibesha. Let me remove all the tamas, all the negativity that is there in us. In short, the only way that we can attain this highest sense of immortality is only by giving up all sense of ownership. Jage naike amritatva manashiku. So if you see Sarveshwaratvam, only when you have enormous amount of wealth, you can disown it. Not a person who has nothing. If he has, a person who has nothing says, I am not attached to anything, then it is called abhava vairagyam. The subtext here is, during our life, we must acquire all the wealth that we can. This I have told many times. We must acquire all the knowledge that we want, but give it up. Give up the attachment. And that is Shiva's role model. Then, Sangopi Asangaha, the second part. Here it is dramatized by saying he has given half of his body to his wife, isn't it? But if you go philosophically, what do we see? There is no emotional dependence. Emotional stability is signified by his Ardhanarishwaratvam and at the same time being indifferent to all pleasures. Na abhimanaha, freedom from ego, what it says is he has an intellectual discrimination, vivekaha. Physical possessions, he knows where to keep it. Emotional stability, he can have it in spite of enjoying all the pleasures. Intellectual maturity, he has no ego. So this is his role model. All these qualities are only for the sake of Loka Kalyana and Loka Sangraha. So we have got to read all these values while we are studying Anuvaka number 2 to 9. Otherwise it only becomes like Vishnu Sahasranama, a list of names. So how should we do the Anusandhana, or how should we do the contemplation on the following mantras? We must train ourselves to experience the auspiciousness in each and every entity, whether it appears as desirable or undesirable. To experience auspiciousness in something that is desirable is easy. and it is crude. The experience in that which is undesirable requires a tremendous amount of spiritual maturity. And we are going to come across many epithets of Shiva which are undesirable also in nature. So the mantras 2 to 9 is going to provide us with material for upasana. Upasana is meditation to get the experience of the absolute Brahmanubhava. We were studying Kenopanishad yesterday, some of us. So I will remind you the mantra we studied actually yesterday, Pratibodha Viditam Matam. Pratibodha Viditam Matam means to realize in all states of cognition. And remember, we also studied another mantra, Bhuteshu Bhuteshu Vichitya Dhiraha, to discover the Chaitanyam in each and every being. So the two mantras that we studied in Kenopanishad yesterday, some of us, the entire upasana is from number 2 to number 9. So if you want to look at a commentary as to how to achieve the state that Kenopanishad is talking about, we have got to start practicing Anvaka number 2 to 9. So when you look at such a profound, deep concept that is presented after hearing, what can you say? How would you express your understanding of this? Only by saying Namo Namaha, isn't it? Can you say anything more? The only thing that can come out of our mouth is Namo Namaha. The sage also does Namo Namaha. Namo Hiranyabhave, one who has got a golden arm. This is an epithet also used elsewhere in the Vedas. Some of you may remember this if I chant the mantra. Namo Hiranyabhave Hiranyavarnaya Hiranyarupaya Hiranyapataye Ambikapataya Umapataye Vasupataye Namo Namaha is the whole commentary on one word, Namo Hiranyabhave. So why only Bahu or the hand is chosen? When you take an important limb, the most important limb for transaction with the outside world is our arm, because that is how we grasp. So the grasping of things in the outside world, physically with the arm, metaphorically with your intellect, with the mind and intellect. So mind also can be called as a Bahu. Why did we say it is golden, it is shining? Because it says it is Tejas. It is the luster of Shiva. When the luster of intelligence, when the luster of spirituality is there, whatever you grasp is actually illumined by your wisdom. To indicate that, the word Namo Hiranyabhave is used. Senanye Namaha. Senani means the commander-in-chief. So usually commander-in-chief of an army will be the commander-in-chief of only that species, isn't it? There is a queen bee. So the queen bee is the queen of only bees. But here Senani he is the leader of Deva, Asura, Siddha, Gandharva, Manushyanam Senani. That is the commentary that is given on this mantra. That means he has got leadership over every being that is capable of defending or fighting. Philosophically, how do we interpret this? If you look at all the difficulties that come to us, what are the sources of difficulties that come in our life? There are three sources. They are called Tapatrayas, Adhyatmika, Adibhautika and Adidaivika. All these three sources are from one or the other different beings. Isn't it? What is Adhyatmika? Coming from within yourself, that is your own being. What is Adibhautika? It can be coming from any of the animals. It can be coming from the environment. It need not necessarily be another human being. What is the problems that is coming from fate or from karma? It is Deva Gandharvas. Therefore, he is the leader of all these. Dishancha Pataye Namaha. There are already the lords of each one of the directions. We know that, Dikpatis. In the east there is Indra who gives strength. In the southeast there is Agni, Yama, so on and so forth. So why should we have another Dikpati here? It is because Indra and others are the lords of their particular direction only. We need to have one who is the controlling even them. Otherwise there will be no discipline. Because we know that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So absolute power must be in the hand of one who is not corruptible. And therefore Shiva is called Senani because he is also the Antaryami. See, this is where you have to connect. The Antaryami of Indra, Agni, etc. also is Shiva only. What is the evidence? Ya esho antaraditye hiranmaya purusha. Ya esh. That comes later on in the Mahanarayana. And the later Mahanarayana, the mantras that we are going to chant in the same text, when we continue, this is called Antaraditya Vidyopasana. When we come to that, I will talk more about it. You will see, I think it is on page 44 in your book. Adityo va esha etan mandalam tapati tatratarachastra mandalagum sarucham lokodhaya esha etasmin mandalerchisi. 44 all is that. Then we are now saying Dishancha Pataye Namaha because from each one of the directions we may get difficulty or comfort. For example, the deity of the south is Yama. From Yama, what is the favorable thing we get? We get discipline in our life. What is the unfavorable thing that comes? Sickness and death. Isn't it? So, for us to do the Shivopasana, we have got to go to this person. So, what is the intrinsic thing that is happening? There is no real harmony between the energies that you see, which are divided into different directions. Because Indra gives you bala, whereas Yama gives you discipline. So, this is called asama or asamasta pada. So, if you were to worship, if you say, I turn to the east, and then say, Om Namah Prache Dishe Yascha Devataha Etasyam Prativasanti Etabhyascha Namo Namaha. Anybody who does Sandhya Vandana will know this mantra. So I turn to the east direction. All the deities and all the energies, noble energies that are there in the whole of the east, my prostrations to you, we say, right? So this you have to do 10 times for all the 10 directions. How to make sure that we only get the best from each one of the directions? Make sure we have to worship Shiva, who is going to make sure that the best only accrues. In fact, in this context, I am reminded of a very beautiful Subhashita. Akinchanasya dantasya shantasya samachetasaha sada santushta manasaha sarva sukhamaya dishaha. The meaning is, akinchanasya, a person who has no attachment to his wealth. Dantasya, for a person who is very patient, who has control on his temper. Shantasya, who is peaceful internally. Samachetasaha, who has a balanced mind. Sada santushta manasaha, a person who is always of a happy disposition. Sarva dishaha sukhamayaha. From all the directions you will get only comfort, because you are not scared, afraid or worried or second guessing anything or anybody. How can we make sure that by worshipping this entity, all our difficulties are becomes manageable. It is because not only he is controlling all these things, but also because of him the entire universe obeys. Aruna Prashna, if you remember. Bhisha, not Aruna Prashna, Taittiriya Upanishad. Bhishasmadvatah pavate bhishodeti suryaha bhishasmadagnischendrascha mrityurdhavati panchama iti. That commentary you will see in Anuvaka number 2 to 9. So what did I prove? The Prathama Namaskara, the first Namaskara, Agra Puja, Shiva deserves. That's the conclusion. So from now onwards we will see in what myriad forms Shiva will present himself from here on.